speaking out. This thing is getting ugly. And it's getting ugly very, very fast. Any Constable just reported 23 minutes ago.
This is the story of a league that found its golden goose, watched its golden goose get knocked to the floor on national television, and then, and by responded, I mean completely fumbled, responded in a way so spectacularly backwards that now a hotel company is doing the WNBA's job for it. Caitlin Clark, the asset, the money, the one draw this league has had in a generation, and by the 15-minute mark of this video, you are going to understand exactly who benefits from the chaos surrounding her name and who has been quietly letting it happen. Stay with me, because this story just got a whole lot bigger.
Boss, they even released a statement. They said, we are aware of the accusations involving the individual and currently investigating the matter. The company said in a statement, the behavior described would be in violation of multiple company policies and does not reflect our company values in any way.
Let's set the table. Indiana Fever versus the Las Vegas Aces. And the Fever, Caitlin Clark's team, did not just win, they won by 34 points, 109-75. I want you to sit with that number for a second. 34 points. That is not a basketball game. That is a statement. That is the kind of margin that embarrasses franchises, ends rotations, and apparently, sends people to their phones to fire off the ugliest possible messages to the losing team's players. Now during that game, there was a play involving Caitlin Clark, the asset, the commodity, the reason half those people tuned in, where she went down briefly after what a lot of people watching described as a deliberate hit, hands up, breath knocked out. The kind of moment that, if it happened to any other marquee star in professional sports, would have generated wall-to-wall coverage and immediate league response. We will come back to that, because what happened next is what this video is actually about. Chelsea Gray of the Las Vegas Aces, on the wrong end of that 34-point loss, posted a screenshot on Instagram of a direct message she allegedly received. The message, according to reports from Fox News and the New York Times, contained a racial slur, ugly, indefensible. No person should receive that in their inbox, period. That is not the debate. Here is where it gets, and by interesting I mean genuinely revealing about the state of this entire situation. Interesting. Hilton Grand Vacations, a hospitality company, launched a formal internal investigation into one of its own employees who is alleged to have sent that message. A hotel company, investigating its own staff, over a WNBA post-game DM. Let me say that again for the people in the back. A private corporation is now doing accountability work that the league itself should have been doing for months, and that is not hyperbole. That is not me hyping this up. That is simply the math. If you are new here and you want to understand why this keeps happening, why every single week there is a new controversy orbiting Caitlin Clark's name, you need to subscribe right now and turn on notifications. Because we are covering this story in real time, and you do not want to be the last person to know. Hit that subscribe button. We will be right back in this.
And to me, it's looking very, very spooky for the WNBA, because now we got other companies launching investigations into their employees over fan behavior, which is crazy in itself.
Now let's talk about what Hilton Grand Vacations actually said, because this is where it gets, and by corporate boilerplate, I mean genuinely damning corporate boilerplate.
Guys, they cannot. And they cannot put all this harassment on a Caitlin Clark fan base, because that is
Read that back. The behavior described would be in violation of multiple company policies and does not reflect our company values in any way. A hotel chain issuing a values statement about a WNBA game. Every single person watching this needs to understand what that sentence means in context. It means that a company that sells vacation packages felt more urgency to protect the integrity of the moment than the league office did. And that is the pattern. That is the thing that should make every WNBA fan, every Caitlin Clark fan, and honestly every neutral observer sit up straight. Because this is not the first time the league has let outside parties carry the weight it should be carrying itself. Think about what we are looking at here. The Fever just put up 109 points against the Aces, a 34-point blowout. The biggest story coming out of that game, from a league office perspective, should have been the dominance, the ratings, the proof of concept that Caitlin Clark, the asset, is transforming this league in real time. Instead, the story is a DM, an investigation, and a hospitality company's HR department. That is a failure of narrative management so complete, so total, that it almost has to be intentional. Almost. Now let me give you the analogy, because I think this is the only way to make people truly feel the absurdity of what is happening here. Imagine you own a restaurant. You have one chef. This chef is the reason people drive 45 minutes out of their way to eat at your establishment. She fills every seat, every night. She is the economic engine of the entire operation. Now imagine that during service, a customer reaches across the counter and shoves that chef. And instead of the owner stepping in, instead of the owner saying, "We protect our people, we protect our asset, we protect the reason this restaurant exists," the owner just kind of watches. And then, after the incident, when people on the internet start sending ugly messages to the customer who did the shoving, the building's landlord is the one who issues a statement about conduct. The landlord, not the owner, the landlord. That is what we are watching. The WNBA is the restaurant owner who cannot find the words, and Hilton Grand Vacations is the landlord who stepped up. Let that image sit with you.
Speaking out, this thing is getting ugly. And it's getting ugly very, very fast. Any constable just reported 23 minutes ago.
Now here is where I want to be precise, because this story has layers, and the league office, the primary villain in this particular chapter, is very good at muddying the waters. The WNBA as an institution has known for months that the environment around Caitlin Clark is volatile. They have known that her presence in this league has generated an unprecedented level of attention, some of it beautiful, some of it ugly, all of it undeniably real, and what have they done with that knowledge? What proactive, structural, institutional response have we seen from the league office? Because from where I am sitting, the answer looks a lot like nothing that matters. And by nothing that matters, I mean a series of statements that protect the league's image while doing exactly zero to protect the asset that is generating all of this attention in the first place. Let me walk you through the pattern, because this is not a one-time thing. We know that Chennedy Carter, in an earlier, separate incident, hit Caitlin Clark with what a lot of people watching described as a deliberate off-ball foul. Hands up, no play on the ball. The league's response, a fine so small it barely registered. We know that in the game we are discussing today, there was a physical moment involving Caitlin Clark that sent her to the floor, and the loudest institutional response in the aftermath has been, again, from a hotel company. And now we have reports that a Minnesota Lynx player received a hateful audio message on Instagram, and that Phoenix Mercury players have reportedly received threats following the Caitlin Clark incident. I want to be clear, none of that is acceptable. Every player in this league deserves to be free from harassment, full stop. But let me be completely clear about something else. The league office cannot use those incidents as a shield. You do not get to point at fan behavior and say, "See, this is what Caitlin Clark's fans are doing," when you have spent months failing to create a structure that separates the asset from the controversy. You do not get to blame the audience for a fire you refuse to put out.
Boss, they even released a statement. They said, "We are aware of the accusations involving the individual and currently investigating the matter." The company said in a statement, the behavior described would be in violation of multiple company policies and does not reflect our company values in any way.
Spooky for the WNBA. That is the word, spooky, because what we are watching in real time is a league that has been handed a generational opportunity, and by generational opportunity, I mean the kind of asset that comes along once every 20 or 30 years in professional sports, and is now watching outside institutions step in to manage the fallout from its own inaction. Let me put the money frame on this, because that is ultimately what this is about. Think about what a 34-point Fever victory means commercially. Think about what it means for ratings. Think about what it means for the Fever's brand, for the Indiana market, for the television partners who signed deals specifically because Caitlin Clark was going to be on the court. That game, 109-75, should have been a business triumph, a proof point. A clip you put in the league's promotional reel and play on a loop. Instead, the story that came out of it is a racial slur, a hotel investigation, and a social media firestorm, and I want you to ask yourself, who benefits from that? Who benefits from the story being about anything other than Caitlin Clark's dominance on the court? Because the league office, which has the power to shape narratives, which has the power to protect its most valuable asset, which has the power to say clearly and loudly, "This player is the future of this league, and we stand behind her," has repeatedly, consistently, almost professionally chosen not to do that, and that is not hyperbole, that is the observable record. Now, every single person watching this, I need you to understand the historical context here. Every league that has ever had a transformational player has faced a choice. Do you build the institution around the asset, or do you let the asset fend for herself while the institution hedges its bets? We have seen what happens when leagues get that choice right. We have seen what happens when they get it wrong. The WNBA right now is at that fork in the road, and its behavior, its institutional behavior, suggests it does not fully understand which path it is on.
And to me, it's looking very, very spooky for the WNBA. Because now we got other companies launching investigations into their employees over fan behavior, which is crazy in itself.
There it is. They cannot put all this on a Caitlin Clark fan base because that is exactly what they're trying to do, and that is the strategy, isn't it? That is the play. You take a situation that is genuinely complicated, fan harassment is real, racial slurs are real, and they are wrong, and you use the complexity of that situation to paint a single narrative, that the problem is Caitlin Clark's audience, that the problem is the new fans, that the problem is the people who showed up because of the asset, not the institution. And by strategy, I mean a transparent attempt to shift responsibility, because if the story is Caitlin Clark fans are toxic, then the league office never has to answer for why it failed to protect Caitlin Clark in the first place. You see how that works? You see the sleight of hand? Here is the verdict. The WNBA had a 34-point blowout victory by its most marketable team, featuring its most marketable player, and the dominant story out of that game is a corporate HR investigation. That is the score, 109-75 on the court. And somewhere in the neighborhood of 0 to everything in the court of public perception, because the league office, the institution that is supposed to be the steward of this moment, has abdicated that responsibility so completely that a vacation company had to pick up the slack. Hilton Grand Vacations issued a statement. Congressmen are reportedly speaking out. The New York Times broke the story. Every major media institution in the country is now orbiting this situation, and the WNBA's response has been, "What exactly? We are still waiting." Here is what I predict happens next. The Hilton investigation concludes. The employee faces consequences, as they should. The league issues a statement that is carefully worded enough to avoid taking any real position. Caitlin Clark keeps playing, keeps filling arenas, keeps printing money for a league that does not fully appreciate what it has, and 6 weeks from now, we will be back here, covering the next incident, because nothing structural will have changed. And that 34-point margin, 109-75, that number will keep growing, not just on scoreboards, in the gap between what this league could be and what it is choosing to be. Every time Caitlin Clark steps on the court, that gap gets wider. And the league office keeps standing at the edge of it, looking down, doing absolutely nothing. That is not a prediction, that is a pattern, and patterns do not lie.
Guys, they cannot, they cannot put all this harassment on a Caitlin Clark fan base, because that is
I want you to drop something in the comments right now. One word, yes or no. Is the WNBA league office deliberately failing Caitlin Clark? Yes or no? Not maybe, not it's complicated, yes or no, because I think you know the answer. I think everyone watching this knows the answer. And I want to see it down there in black and white. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, if you are sitting there right now with your jaw slightly open, which is the correct response to everything we just walked through, then hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. We are covering this story in real time, and the next development is probably already happening while you are watching this. You do not want to miss it, and when you are done in the comments, click the video on your screen right now. Because what we have waiting for you next makes everything we just discussed look like the opening act. This is WNBA News. We'll see you in the next one.